Hey everyone, welcome to the structures presentation. I'm CCP Fozzie.
And I'm CCP Nawal. Hi.
And we're both game designers on Team 5.0. So this is just a little bit, I'll walk you through what we're going to be talking about today in this presentation so you know what to expect. We're going to introduce the team, Team 5.0 that's working on structures right now, a bit about the goals and philosophy behind our structure work. Looking back on the last year, some of the things you guys have been doing with these structures since they were first introduced. A little bit about the way we're approaching structure development right now, then talking about the next set of structures coming in the refineries, the things the refineries will be doing, reprocessing, reactions, moon mining, the mining ledger. We're also going to talk a bit about the outpost phase-out that we discussed at the keynote, and a little bit about the next steps towards phasing out POSs as well, so we'll have some new announcements there. And then at the end, we'll have some Q&A if we have time. We'll see how fast we can get through everything. So this is the team. This is Team 5.0 that is behind the design and implementation side of the new structures at the moment. Also with a huge amount of work from TriLambda, who handle both the visuals and audio. They do an amazing work. They're always creating these great visuals you guys are seeing. They also created all the concept art that we're going to be showing that is really, really spectacular. But this is our team that we work on every day, a lot of really awesome people. If you see them in the hallways, if you see them at the pub crawl, give them a high five. So a year, or 2 years ago now, we first showed you this. This is a list of goals that CCP Ytterbium laid out for the ongoing structure revamp program, a long multi-year program that would completely reimagine the way structures in Eve work. It's something that I just wanted to bring up again to remind people that we are still following through some of the same DNA. Obviously, details of plans change, but the vision behind structures remains really the same at its core. The principles of what we're working on right now, the really key underlying principles, are we want to provide aspirational goals that leaders can inspire their followers towards. The ability for a leader to be at a point at a goal and say, all right, guys, we're going to work towards this. We need help in this area and that area, and really inspire people to work together. We want to give people more reasons to be in space, interacting with others. We want to support a wider variety of play types than we are currently supporting with existing structures. And we want to present groups of players with interesting strategic choices and let players fight each other rather than fighting with our game client in the UI, be able to really improve the user experience.
So, citadels and engineering complexes, they are what we have right now in the game. They've been there for citadels 1 year, engineering complexes 6 months. And you've seen these numbers before. It's everything that's been deployed. That's online right now, well, a couple of weeks ago. But what we see here for us, the take, is that they are being used. They're being used a lot. Of course, the cut is correct with the prices of them, but we're very happy. It's a big addition into these new structures. It kind of proves our concept. The destruction is where we see them going down. Not so many have been destroyed. So yeah, maybe too defensive, we don't know yet, but still, they are being attacked. Things are happening around them. They are much pervasive. It's not just for a few corporations. Over than almost 9,000 have one or more, between 1 and 5, so it's a lot of them. It's a lot of people have those, so we're happy with that. And always, like as we see with the keep stars, we also see a couple of corporations with over 100. So it's still, even the mega rich, they go massively and they show their difference when using these.
Any of you guys have any guesses of what those two corporations are? Two corporations with more than 100 upwell structures in space. I'm hearing a lot of alliances. These are actually specific corporations, although I'm hearing some corporations too. Yeah, I think I've heard one of them, but not the other. Yeah, not yet, but well, we'll see. I don't think we'll do the actual reveal. We don't want to give that away for these corps, but
To be nice.
They're big corps though. OPSEC. Yeah.
CCP is neutral.
Actually, here's something quickly for you. I know some of you guys have been curious about a tweet I made several months back, where I said something big had happened. Congratulations to the people who achieved something big. And there's a lot of speculation about that, actually much more speculation than I expected. I expected it to be a little throwaway tweet that the people who did the thing would recognize, and everyone else might not. It kind of grew to life on of its own. The actual thing I was tweeting about is the deployment of the first extra-large engineering complex. The thing that threw a lot of people off is some people tweeted at me with a picture of the second extra-large engineering complex to deploy that a lot of people thought was the first, and asked me if this is what you were talking about, and I said no, because it wasn't. So the one that a lot of people expected to be first, that actually was second. The first one, there's something about the phrasing I used that made it clear to, I think, the owners of that first one that I'm talking about them, some specific bit of the phrasing. And so congratulations to them. They've actually, there's enough of them out there now that I don't think it's too much to give that away. I won't tell you where it is, though, yet. Maybe after it gets destroyed or taken down or something.
It's a round table.
Yeah.
So, NoSec gets most of them. They love it. It's kind of like they're really perfect for that space. HiSec, offshoring is cool, and so got a bunch of them. Wormholers, this is something that's very big for us. It's they've been massively used. The average now is of course it's clustered, but it's 1.2 structures per wormhole system. So it's a lot. It's they completely populated. It's very interesting to see how they have been taken. So wormholes are not as inhospitable as they used to be. And finally, low sec is trying to catch up. We're very happy to see this. This shows that even though there were star bases before, people could build there. There was not much. And then when engineering complexes come, it takes 3 months, 2 months, and it's already up there in the mid-60s, 65%, all manufacturing game being done in player-owned spaces. So it's it's not the players own everything. So it's how it should be. They are destroyable. So yeah, maybe a bit strong, but anyway, you can still shoot those things up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the one thing I put in a dev blog that we put out a couple weeks ago is a little bit of background in the way we're approaching structure development right now. So I'm going to go through that again really quickly for anyone who hasn't read that dev blog. There's 3 real tracks to it. We've got one that is bug fixes, performance improvements, and UI polish. Obviously, with a new feature that's as big as Citadel's was, it's going to take a long time to react to all the things that come up, to get it polished up to our quality levels. There's just a lot to do, and we've been constantly working on that, thanks to a lot of your great feedback and bug reports. We're also been adding new universal features to Upwell structures. These are the features that exist in all of the Upwell structures out there. So things like contracts, when we added them, things like item repair, things like personal insurance. We're also working on the next set of structures at the same time. So that's the refineries with the new moon mining and reaction services. So I want to give a big, big thank you to everyone who's participated in the survey that we put out alongside that dev blog. We put it out from March 22nd and 28th. It was put out in an email to a limited subsection of the community, so not everyone got it, but we sent it out to a randomized subsection that we could actually track all the details of them. And then we also put it out in the dev blog as well for anybody to complete. And we got over 6,000 English responses, 728 Russian, 710 German. Amazing, amazing responses. Thank you guys very much for participating. This has been really helpful. We're still analyzing the results. We just got the first set of official analysis from our data guys earlier this week, at the beginning of the week, and then it's been Fanfest prep. But we're going to be using this data to really help us prioritize our future structure work. And I'm going to show in a moment, we've actually already been using some of the feedback threads to prioritize some structure work really quickly. So of the 3 tracks, some examples here, fixes and polish. Recent months, we've been improving the session change timer UX for structures, having it be a hidden progression that goes when you start to click the undock rather than being a pop-up, which can be very annoying, that blocks you from undocking. Improving structure UI brackets, and there's actually more improvements coming in our May release. We're going to be adding working separate structure brackets for engineering complexes and having the structure brackets be appropriate even when you're really far away. Right now, it's just showing you the extra large ones in a lot of cases. The industry window and corp hanger performance improvements have been really, really beneficial over the past couple of months. Fixes for the bugs around undocking that we've seen, saving the world from some exploits that I won't go into the details of here, because a lot of them we managed to fix before people really took advantage of them. And then some of the stuff that we have coming up soon. We've got a fix for station containers and wormholes in the pipeline. So this is, how many wormholes we got here? There we go, yeah. So I know this is something that's been a real problem for you guys when you're trying to evict people, when you're kicking them out of wormholes, and just when you're destroying structures. Because there's no asset safety in wormholes, it ejects the loot into space, but if that loot's in a station container, at the moment you actually can't retrieve it. So you can essentially deny the loot from your opponents by putting it in station containers. So we've got a fix for that in the pipe. It's working on our internal test servers, and we plan to get that out in May. We also have some improved deployment UI changes coming out in May as well. At the moment, when you try to deploy a structure, it just shows red when you can't deploy it somewhere, but doesn't tell you why it's red. The new system will now actually give you the information you need to know, oh, maybe it's too close to a sun, or maybe it's on top of a ship, or something like that. And we're also in the middle of a back-end rewrite of the corp office system. This is something that's not going to be visible right away, the changes. Basically, we're replicating the function with better code, but this is going to be a really, really helpful thing in all the future work we're doing. Going to help improve our velocity and get fixes to you guys out better, and fix a lot of bugs over time.
And less GM calls.
Yes, and less GM calls. So this is going to be something that is really beneficial, even though it's going to be silent in the background. This is CCP Ginger Dude being the hero that New Eden needs. We also have more new structure features. Some of the stuff we've been doing in recent months: contracts and structures, personal insurance, item repair. And one thing I'm going to reveal that we've got coming soon actually came from the inspiration for it came from the forum thread from this dev blog and the survey. We saw a lot of great suggestions in that forum thread from people, and one idea that had been bouncing around before, we've heard it before, but when we saw it in this thread, I think a couple of people on 5.0 sort of looked at each other and said, oh, that's actually a really great idea. We should get that done right now. And so it's actually going to be working in our May release, which is the ability to have a bio in your structure. So now you won't need to put all the information in the name of the structure. You can have an actual public biography, a public description of your structure, talk about the percentages, talk about the bonuses it provides, talk about all the different services, or just, Game of Thrones spoilers or whatever you want. And that is something that's big thanks to Echo Mande here, who posted it in that forum thread, and that gave us the extra little kick to get it done. And CCP Hardcore was able to implement it really quickly. Also, besides our work on improving the structure mechanics, the art guys are also always working on updating things. The big one coming up in May that we've already showed you, but I want to show it again because it's really awesome, is the Alliance logos on structures. These things are really great. They also are going to show your corp logos, and they're going to show the identity of your corp CEO. On the test server, originally it was Alliance Executive CEO, but we accepted the feedback from you guys that you'd prefer to have the corp CEO of the owning corp instead, because that's more likely to be a relevant character. So we've actually already gone ahead and made that change. It's going to be the corp CEO at the moment. So big thanks to everyone who's been providing feedback there.
Okay, so refineries and moon mining. These are now scheduled for the release this winter. It's happening. They are specialized for resource collection and processing. They have bonuses for that. They are the only ways that you can get the new reactions and the moon mining. New reactions being basically the same old reactions with a much, much improved user interface. They are going to also talk to the whole core of Apparel Structures features, all the service modules, all that stuff, like fitting, docking, etc. There's only 2 of them. They are going to be cheaper than Citadels, but they're going to be more expensive than engineering complexes. We don't know more than that yet. So the Atanor, the Tatara, the medium, the large. So they will be the best structures in New Eden for reprocessing. So it's not just the moon mining stuff. There's also like any other kinds of ore. What is that?
This is about the old rigs. So for people that have refining rigs installed onto a Citadel or an engineering complex. Yes, we're going to have those unfitted automatically so that you can move them if you want over to a new refinery or put them back onto the structure.
So basically, we are going to get the medium and the large processing rigs going to be buffed. The XL will just get cheaper. So now this is the fun part. We're going to move all the reactions to use the industry UI. So jobs and the batches work like any other industry stuff. They're exclusive. So there's going to be one module for the Tech 2 reactions, one module for the hybrid ones, and one module for the booster reactions. And there are going to be new skills that will allow more reactions per character. So now it's kind of like new skills. This is how it used to be. Some people know how to do that. Most don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy when you know it. Then follow the arrows. This is how it's going to be. So we already had it before, just, you know. Moon mining is also exclusive. The whole new active process, it's not like sitting down and something comes up. You have to actually do stuff, not only you. The thing's going to be scheduled by the structure owner. He sets the date. Yeah, we have one position per moon. It's at the Lagrange point, so that we know that things stay there correctly inside space. One refinery allowed at the moon mining per spot. So yeah, there's only one of those spots. So you got to stay there. So if there's a refinery with a moon mining there, then it owns the moon, and no other one can mine that moon unless you take the first one out. So this is the beautiful artwork. So it's in the position. There's only one position per moon that allows this. It goes, makes the hole in the moon, and then this big chunk gets pulled out. It's going to be seen from far, so people who are passing by can see. You can see the thing coming. It's really slow. It's going to take several days. And then on the time that's scheduled, you go there, press the button, it blows up, big explosion, everybody's waiting. And then you get to mine, and all those people mining. And then other people may show up, hopefully, we don't know, see what happens. Maybe you'll fight. This whole process means that you don't know what's happening on your space very well. So we wanted to give some kind of ownership still to allow people who own the thing to keep control of what they have. So they're going to automatically track the asteroids that are created by the drilling process. It's going to record all mining activity from the moon, and their owners can view it later. So it's going to encourage, the idea is that it's kind of a way that we thought to implement something that would be like a taxation system that we have for industry to allow other players to come and use it, but instead of forcing something automatically, it's going to just allow players to see so they can find the way that they will profit the shares, that they will charge someone, they can find who stole them, and they can fight each other or like hire people. So this is also a very interesting system on the background because it gives us a lot of possibilities to do this to other mining systems, to do this to a personal mining ledger where I see everything I have ever mined in Eve and see why I mine, how much I mined, etc.
Yeah, a question just came up talking about this mechanic in wormholes. We've mentioned this a bit before. We think this mechanic, probably with a different resource, not with the Tech 2 materials, would be really interesting to bring to high-second wormholes in the future, but we can't promise anything quite yet, unfortunately. That's something we want to get the first release of this out with moon mining for Tech 2 materials in null-sec and low-sec, and then we can look at potentially expanding it there, especially after we get feedback from it live.
Yeah, got to see how that works first.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to talk a little bit about the long-term plans for transitioning older structures into the new upwell system. So this is a graphic that we showed you 2 years ago. Uturbium brought it up in the dev blog and in his structure presentation at Fanfest with the basic idea of how we wanted to eventually transition over to the new upwell structures away from the older outposts and star bases. With the basic idea being that you will give a grace period, give enough time for everyone for the features to reach parity. to know that, for instance, the system isn't buggy anymore, to get everything working and give people a chance to start moving over, and then slowly do things like phase out bonuses, phase out the manufacturing of new structures, and move towards eventually doing a full conversion. We've already taken one step, a major step for this with outposts, in that outposts are no longer able to be deployed and upgraded. So that's new outposts are no longer entering the game, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going to happen after that. But first, let's talk a little bit about starbases. So this is something we haven't talked about quite yet, but we're now getting to the point where for refining, compression, manufacturing, and research, upwell structures have already surpassed parity with starbases. They're no longer catching up, they're actually way ahead. And as we showed you with the amount of industry being done, they're already vastly more popular as well, with good reason. They're a lot easier to use, they're a lot more effective. So now we're getting ready to start the phase-out process of these structures specifically. Not for the rest of starbases yet, but just for these ones. So this is for the compression arrays, the reprocessing arrays, the assembly arrays, and the laboratories for starbases. In May, in our May expansion, we're going to stop seeding new BPOs for these structures, for the actual starbase structures themselves, and you won't be able to construct new copies of them. You'll still be able to build things with your assembly array, you just won't be able to build new assembly arrays. So that's going to be the next step. And then the step after that, in August, is we plan on removing the bonuses. So they'll still be able to manufacture, but they'll no longer get any bonuses to ME&T. There's no longer going to be reprocessing arrays in Starbase will reprocess at 50%, that kind of stuff. As again, a gradual process of phase out. So we can move things over to eventually reimburse them and get everyone into the new hotness. And then we also, as we mentioned in the keynote, have a big plan called the Do It program to replace outposts and conquerable stations as well. And this is a really exciting one. We're really happy to be able to be making progress in this. It's also something where we think that outposts and conquerable stations have been such a huge part of E for so long. For a long time, before Citadels were introduced, these were the pinnacle of collective achievement for alliances, building these things. And conquerable stations, too, have this really core part of EVE history. These are the systems that have been fought over more than any others, over the many, many years. And so we wanted to send them out with a bang. We wanted to have a real celebration that's worthy of what these structures represent. So Upwell is going to be offering a very exclusive program here that I think a lot of people are going to want to take advantage of. This is an opportunity that your alliances can really benefit from. There's going to be 5 new faction citadels, 1 for each outpost type and 1 for conquerable stations. These are limited edition, so there may be other faction citadels we add in the future. I mean, the Palatine is also a faction citadel, but these faction citadels with these stats will never be introduced again after this event. They're like the Alliance tournament ship of citadels. Not quite that overpowered, but still really good. And that means that they're useful both for their powerful bonuses, but also as collector's items as well. Faction citadels will be updated and rescaled outpost visual models for the ones that replace outposts. So they're going to look like the outposts, but with the models renovated and scaled up. There's going to be the conquerable one that's a unique skin to Fortizar. They're going to be very much like a Fortizar. They're going to have the same kind of stats at a base as a Fortizar with then bonuses on top. So they'll be able to dock capitals. They'll be able to fit stand-up weapons. All of the things you can do on a Fortizar, you'll be able to do on these. We're giving them special bonuses that are tied to where they came from. So the Mimitar one's going to have a reprocessing bonus, not as strong as the one on the refineries, but it'll have that combined with all the other benefits of being a Fortizar. The Amara one's going to have a manufacturing bonus, again, not as strong as the engineering complex one, but again, combined with all the other bonuses, it's a great generalist. Caldari will have a research bonus. Galente, we're planning a slot bonus for service slots and also fuel use for service slots. And the Amencia ones, these are the ones that are replacing the conquerable stations built by the Amencia cult. They are going to have extra defense, extra hit points, more slots, and then a lighter version of all the other bonuses. These are going to be the real strong ones, I think. They're going to be probably the most valuable. Also the rarest of all of them. These are going to belong on patch day to the owner of the outpost or conquerable station right before the patch. So if your corporation controls the outpost, then when patch day happens, your corporation will own a new citadel in space near where the outpost used to be. You'll be able to unanchor it. You'll be able to scoop it. You'll be able to redeploy it. They can go into HiSec. They can go into wormhole space. All the same places that you can put normal Fortizars. So we think that's going to be one of the many valuable uses of them. But there is going to be some reasons to want to keep them in space as well. Like we said before, these are going to not have blueprints. They're not going to be manufacturable. The only way to get them is going to be as part of this transition event. And on the transition day, we'll be moving everything over. So the big reason you're going to want to maybe keep them where they are is that alongside just being a new powerful citadel with its own bonuses, they're also going to come pre-fitted with super powerful structure rigs if you had an upgraded outpost. So to replace the upgrades that people have been installing on outposts over the years, there's going to be special limited edition faction rigs that'll be put onto each of these new citadels that are replacing an upgraded outpost. They'll only ever come from this event. Because they can't be unfitted without being destroyed, no new ones will ever be able to be put on another structure. No new ones will ever be able to be built. They're going to combine all of the bonuses from the outpost upgrades, a version of all those bonuses, into one rig. So you'll still actually have the other rig slots available to do whatever you want with. These are going to be by far the strongest structure rigs that have ever been added. And that means that, and they're going to have one on each that replaces an upgraded outpost. They're going to come in space installed. So if you unanchor the structure, they'll go away. If you lose the structure, they'll go away. If you unfit them, they'll go away. The idea here is we wanted to provide an extra bonus to replace the outpost upgrades and also give people a strategic decision to make. You can decide whether you want to take this new citadel that you got from a structure you owned, from an outpost you owned, or conquerable, and take it down and then sell it to maybe a wormholer that wants to use it there, or to a collector that wants to have it in their collection, or just deploy them all into one system to be super defensive. But doing so will lose you those rigs on those structures. So what we expect people will do is in the systems that match best where they live, the people that own an outpost in a good location, they may decide to keep this citadel in the same spot to keep advantage of that rig, and that'll stay as long as they can keep that thing alive. But then for the systems that are on the periphery, systems that maybe an outpost was built before they ever took that SOV, and they decided they don't really like having an outpost there, for those systems you can just tear that one down and sell it, or move it somewhere else, or use it for a rainy day. And then there's something else that we're going to be doing special just for the conquerable stations. So there's 68 conquerable stations in EVE, spread across all these regions in nullsec. These are real focal points of the history of EVE. Systems like null, like HTAC-W, like CTAC-J, 1VTAC, VFK. These are systems that, because these conquerable stations for a long time, for most of EVE's history, were the most powerful stations in the game, these are the systems that have some of the greatest history. And a lot of this history existed before many of us even started playing, but it's still history that matters a lot, that affected the whole EVE universe. And that's part of what gives EVE depth. So we want to put a special landmark site to replace these 68 structures. They'll also get the Citadel, but then there'll be a landmark as well. The landmark is going to have some history of the system, and of the alliances that owned it and the battles that were fought over it. And we're going to be asking for your help with that. We're going to be asking over the next several months for you guys to let us know what you think should be written on these monuments, and we'll be taking that into account. Of course, we'll have the final say, so we won't put Game of Thrones spoilers in that. But we definitely want your participation, because you guys are the ones that live this history. And these will also list the alliance that owned the structure last. So if you are the alliance that owns a conquerable station on patch day for this transition, you will have a monument that has your name on it for all time. So we think that's going to be something that's an extra special thank you, basically, to these conquerable stations. So the actual transition event itself is going to be a pretty big day. We want it to be, like I said, a celebration and fitting send-off for outposts and conquerable stations. It's going to happen in the winter, but after the refineries. So the current plan is it's scheduled to come in after the expansion, but we'll be giving you more information exactly when we'll do it a bit closer. These structures, like I mentioned, will be automatically anchored. They're going to appear in space, online. Items will be transferred from the old outpost or conquerable into the new structure. Some might be put into asset safety as needed, but then you can recover it directly into the new structure if you want. We are also going to be preloading them with service modules and a buffer of fuel, so that you'll have the structures ready to go on day one. You won't have to bring in more fuel right away. And they're going to have a 1-week invulnerability from the point that we replace them on patch day, so that you have a week to figure out what you want the vulnerability schedule to be for them. So if you want to take these things, you want to do that before the patch day. But again, we'll be letting you know exactly when that patch day will be, but in the winter after the expansion is the current plan. So that's the core of what we have to present today. I'll leave you with one more run through of some of the amazing concept art that our art team has put together for the refineries and for the moon mining process. We have some really, we're making really great progress on this feature, and we are really excited to hear more of your feedback on the concept. So with drilling the moon, dragging up the asteroid, exploding it into a new field, mining with all your friends, and then fighting off the people that try to mine it with all their friends. And we think this is going to be a process that's going to add a whole lot to Eve. So now we've got some time for questions. If you don't get a chance to ask questions in this session, if we run out of time, then you can go ahead and come to the roundtable on structures, which is right after this presentation in the Amar room. So it's at 1700 in the Amar roundtable room, and we will be able to answer all your questions there too. So we can have people start lining up on the sides here, and we'll kind of go back and forth and answer them as best we can.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yes.
Shoot.
Will the new faction citadels be affected by entosis? And is there any idea of expanding this to regular citadels?
So these faction citadels will use the normal citadel process. They're going to act like a normal citadel in just about every way, just with extra bonuses.
So not complete parity.
Well, they'll have different mechanics, but they have you can do all the things you can do in an outpost in them. That's what we consider parity.
Except entosis, though.
Well, yes, but that's something you do outside of it anyways.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, as for the question of whether we would ever expand that to citadels, I think what our long-term plan would be here would be to take the things that are working well, the best parts of the entosis system and the best parts of the Upwell system, and combine them together. And that's our long-term plan.
It's bigger surgery.
Yeah. Yes?
So with the new moon mining, that brings a new dynamic for collaborative play. Have you looked into things like maybe sun mining? Since they're gaseous elements, you could do something similar with that?
That would be really cool. I know the art guys have been super excited for us to try to find ways to encourage people to put stuff by the sun, because the suns look so great now, and so they've basically been kind of elbowing us every once in a while saying, you know, if you want to make a structure that only goes by the sun, it's fine. That'll be great. And actually, I really agree. I think it would be really cool to do something like that. Whether it's sun mining or maybe like solar arrays that get better if you're close to the sun, or like build your own Dyson swarm or something like that of a bunch of structures all around. I think that would be really cool. Don't have anything to announce yet, but that is something that's definitely, I can promise you this, the art guys are not going to let us forget about the idea, because they are super excited to show off their awesome new suns to everybody. And I know you guys are going to anchor a bunch of citadels there anyways, but more structures in the sun is always good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, do you have any ideas or schedules for making it easy process to kick off some abandoned structure? Mm-hmm. Like right now, if someone didn't care about their structure, if we want to kick it off, we always need 3 times and 15 minutes windows. It's hard because it is abandoned. So do you have any idea to make it easier?
Yep. So I mean, this is definitely a major concern with Upwell structures. When we initially created them, we definitely leaned on the side of making them as accessible for smaller groups as possible, which included some defensibility and included not having to go through a lot of upkeep, jumping through a lot of hoops. That being said, we probably leaned a bit too far in that direction in the initial release, and that is something we're going to need to reapproach and take another look at.
Especially with activity, as you said, we've just been talking about stuff like that with Rise, that activity and defensibility, maybe there's something to connect those two.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So it's been pretty good that you added the repairing functionality to the citadels, but a big feature was just to right-click one of the modules you wanted to repair and just get repair quote and not have to scroll through the list. And that's still not added to the citadels, so that would be a real great thing to have.
Okay, definitely post in the forum thread about it, or put in, because that's not really a bug report, but talk to like C-Speak Harker. They already had the little things presentation, but yeah, that is a good point. We should definitely get to that. Thanks for, and Yeah, oh, is it already in the next release? Have we already done it? Okay, cool. C-Sweet Carker is so amazing. She just fixes stuff and I don't even realize that. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't know we'd fix that. That's awesome. Hi.
So building on what he just said with regards to the vulnerability, are you guys going to be releasing these moon structures before you reassess the vulnerability windows and the process of taking down citadels, or is this something
not.
after you guys are done with structures, then you're going to go back and look at it?
Probably not. We got a lot of numbers, but those numbers have to be digested. It's 12 months. It seems a lot, 6 months for engineering complex, but there's still things happening. You still have to look at it. And as we're making the refineries, that's also going to shake up. So we're looking into it, but don't hold your breath.
Or do you guys have any concerns on currently POSs are one of the best ways to make timers to engage other players. That's not going to be the same with
Yep,
the
it's
same
definitely going to be a
structure
very big shakeup, and that's going to be something that it would be, I think, ideal if we could get a revamp of this in this time frame, but unfortunately, just with number of hours in the day and number of people you can ever have on a team, probably not going to be realistic. We think there's a lot of potential for some of what you may be losing with Starbase to be replaced by hitting the people mining and having a fight over that, because those events are going to also be vulnerable to attack. But we'll have to see how it works out for sure.
Last thing on structures, unanchoring currently takes a week, no matter what size. Any chance you guys are going to revisit that? Or I think that's part of the problem with the proliferation of like Astra houses is who wants to wait a week to show back up and scoop this 600 mil structure.
Yeah, so I mean, that was decided, that's tied to the fact that we have the 1 week scheduling for vulnerability.
Okay.
I think we could only really fix that if we change the vulnerability scheduling to a more granular time frame, which I would actually kind of like to do anyways, but I can't say for sure. That's like a hard blocker though. If we made it a 1 day or a 5 day or something like that, teardown time, then you could put it up and then tear it down and no vulnerability is passed. And there's ways we can tie it into that, but like actually have it dependent on the vulnerability, but then that gets really complicated to explain to new players. So I'd really like to approach that. We still have to have it be long enough to be a bit of a commitment unless we added a new smaller structure maybe that has fewer features, which I think is something we're definitely interested in investigating, a small size of upwell structures that maybe isn't dockable. But I can't say for sure when that would be.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, any chance of adding customizable hangers that not just the core can create, that you yourself can create and create access lists for yourself and other people?
Yeah, so hangers tied to access lists rather than tied to like corporations and such. That's the question, right? Like having a
personal access list that you can create, not you don't have to be a corp CEO or whatever.
That's a suggestion we actually get quite often. I think it's a really good idea. It's a little bit tough to do with our current UI system. So I can't, there's mostly technical blockers there. It's not really a design problem. I think the design of it would actually just be, it would be great to add, and we can tie it to access lists and all that would work pretty well. It's a technical question, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, the mining ledger, is that going to give me just the general idea of what was brought up exactly, or who mined it so I know who to go after for tax evasion?
Who mined? Corporation, timestamps, what he mined, tonnage.
The character ID as well, or character name. So corporation and character, yeah.
Good, and the other thing, is it going to be just Mungu in those belts, or is it going to have a concentration of regular minerals on top of that?
So the ledger will only record the stuff that's in the belt that is brought up by the structure, at least for this ledger. We may be able to add ledgers that get the rest of the system in the future. But these belts very well may include some non-Mungu ore as well. They may include some of the old ores. We basically don't want to make a commitment one way or another yet on that. There may be some some Veldspar for filler, and maybe then some like high-end ores as well, just to sprinkle in there. Yeah.
Hi. Maybe I missed if there was a reason, but it was my understanding that in the dev blog for the mining structures that it was first to be introduced to wormholes in HiSec. Is there any reason why they are not going to be introduced to wormhole space to begin with? As of apparently we occupy around 30% of all structures in Eve. But we, on the same hand, we only populate around 5% of the player population.
You guys use a lot of structures. It's awesome. So I think there's probably a misunderstanding of that original blog. We definitely never said that we'd be putting them first into wormholes or high-sec. The plan is low-sec and null-sec first. And the main reason for that is because this mechanic, at least the first version of this mechanic, is intended to replace moon mining, and moon mining only exists in low-sec and null-sec. So this is the replacement of that mechanic and will exist in the same places. We can potentially expand it to other ones later as long as that's a different resource, but not with the same resource.
So is there any technical reason why not to introduce it to high-sec or wormholes?
Other than the fact that so the only technical reason for not putting it into those right away is that it would be extra difficult. It would be extra work to get it working for other resources other than moon minerals. So we'd have to seed materials in and really determine what we wanted to put into those, whether it be normal or a new resource or something like that. So I think it would be really worthwhile to put this mechanic of scheduled mining with a structure into wormholes and high-sec. But because of the fact that the focus on this is replacing the Tech 2 production, we decided to put it in the same place as the Tech 2 production is in right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. By the way, you will be able to put the refineries in wormholes. You just won't be able to moon mine with them. So they'll still work for the reactions, which is really important because hybrid reactions are part of this, and they'll still work for refining as well.
A couple of questions. Currently, if you anchor a citadel in hostile space, the anchoring timer is affected by the ADM. Will that count for refineries as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that'll make it more difficult to own a moon in hostile space, as we see a lot these days.
Yep, so the same mechanics that apply to the anchoring of citadels and engineering complexes will apply to these. They have really the basic core mechanics being the same. We're kind of interested in investigating what other ways we can tie in other types of SOV connections into these structures in the future. But that one connection will definitely be there on refineries on day one.
Okay, and are you considering a reshuffling of mineral distribution?
We are considering that, yes. I can't make any commitments yet, but that is an option. At the moment, we're keeping our options open.
Have you thought about maybe introducing new types of ores that will sort of combine minerals and moon minerals in order to make these builds more interesting?
Yeah, so that is definitely something we're considering. We are definitely going to be adding new ores as part of this, because what you'll actually mine from these belts will be an ore that has the moon mineral in it rather than being the moon mineral itself, because you'll have to refine it. And one of the options we're considering, we're doing a lot of the number crunching for exactly how we want the balance of the economy in this to work. One of the things we are considering, yes, is putting some normal minerals into that ore as well. So that's definitely an option on the table.
Okay, last tiny question. Will there be rigs that bonus reactions in any way?
Yes, the plan is to have rigs that bonus reactions. We don't have all the details yet. We're interested in hearing what kind of things you'd like to see in a rig that bonuses reactions. So definitely come talk to us afterwards, and we'd be interested in hearing your feedback.
Thank you.
Another couple of bits. One, first off, for the moon mining side, are there any thoughts of allowing hostiles to, say, drop a Titan, DD the lump, and cause it to explode into the asteroid belt? So you don't necessarily have full control over when it becomes available?
We actually totally thought about that, of just having people shoot in enough DPS into it, it breaks the containment field, and then it all separates. That's not part of the current plan as it is right now, but that is the kind of thing we could potentially add, and we could potentially add it after the fact as well if it is in the first release. So I can talk a little bit quickly about the reason. Let's see, we have enough time, right? Yes. The reasoning behind the push button, get explosion at the end instead of having to break up on its own. There's two core reasons for it. One is that we wanted to make sure that the owner of the structure didn't have to panic too much if they're taking a little bit longer than expected to form. They have a bit of a buffer, a bit of flexibility in exactly when it starts. This is going to be a relatively short period that you'll have between when it shows up, when you can start exploding it, and when it explodes on its own. It's not going to be days, it's going to be hours. And the other reason is just because explosions are fun.
The next question was, since outposts are going to disappear come wintertime, does that mean you'll be able to lock down BPOs in the new structures by then?
We are working on a solution to that. We don't have it quite ready to announce exactly, but yes, we would definitely like to get that fixed.
Thank you.
Last question, sorry.
Okay, people don't like my question, but when are you planning to add more risk in game? For example, a lot of people have billions of ISK in assets, and for example, 1-2 billion in ISK. And when we are killing Citadel, we're just losing money and time. Our assets are still with us. So what do you think about it, and how to make game a bit more, please?
Yeah, so I mean, the risk-reward question with them is like I mentioned before, it's a tough one. We definitely leaned on the side of making it, encouraging people to use it, and especially encouraging small corps that might be afraid they're going to get hit by a giant corp, right? Giant alliance. We wanted to make sure they could feel safe operating there. And also you feel safe like doing things like stocking a market, because that's so many assets you need to stock a market. So we definitely didn't want to be too punishing on the asset removal. I think a better option than just like having people lose a bunch of assets in normal space when they lose the structure might be doing something like having more of the structure value be salvageable by the people that destroyed it or something like that as an extra way of providing the incentive for shooting it.
Thank you.
Thanks. So sorry guys that's going to be all the questions we have time for, but we do have the roundtable on this topic right in like 10 minutes downstairs in Amar. So that'll be a great place for you to ask all of your questions. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.